Today, I want to talk about the essence of truth and enlightenment. The knowledge I have taught and shared with all of us is aimed at imparting wisdom so that we may transcend suffering and escape the cycle of rebirth. This is the goal. Truth is something that is always with us, never changing, never increasing, and never decreasing. It is a nature that is clearly present in our minds at every moment. However, those who are caught in ignorance do not understand this truth. Therefore, those who are enlightened offer this knowledge to help us understand. The teachers of this knowledge have learned from the enlightened and pass on this truth to us. Truth is constantly present and available for the mind to recognize at all times. This knowledge is not about the self, but involves the mind and the components of life. To understand, we must seek and desire to truly understand this truth. Accessing the ultimate truth is a significant opportunity, but if we do not have clear intention or desire, we may not encounter this truth and thus fail to escape from suffering. Our desire and determination are often insufficient due to the weakness of our mind. When our mind is not strong enough, we are drawn to external stimuli and the continuous mental fabrications, causing us to be lost in thoughts, emotions, and external influences. We often seek relief from suffering when we face severe problems or intense pain, which sometimes may be too late. However, some begin seeking liberation from suffering from a young age. Some have set their aspirations over multiple lifetimes, and in this life, they may find a teacher without much search. Listen to and understand the ultimate truth, eliminating doubts and escaping the cycle of suffering. The ultimate truth is about the mind and what it perceives. Everything that impacts through our senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, or external influences affecting our mind, is a nature that continually creates, alters, changes, and dissolves, happening all the time. Reaching the ultimate truth is a crucial opportunity, but without clear intention or strong desire, we might miss this truth and remain stuck in suffering. Our desire and determination often fall short because our minds are not strong enough, which is referred to as lacking spiritual merit. When our minds are weak, we are easily swayed by external stimuli and the constant mental fabrications, leading us to be caught up in thoughts, emotions, and external influences. We usually seek liberation from suffering only when faced with severe problems or intense pain, which can sometimes be too late. Some people, however, start seeking relief from a young age. Some may have set their aspirations over many lifetimes, and in this life, they might find a teacher easily, listen to, and grasp the ultimate truth, thereby removing doubts and escaping the cycle of suffering. The ultimate truth concerns the mind and its perceptions. Everything that affects our senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, or external influences impacting our mind, functions naturally to create, alter, change, and dissolve, continuously occurring all the time. The Buddha and teachers are merely guides who point out that the mind is an inherently empty nature, without ownership, pure and clear. This is what is called radiant mind. In reality, this nature has no name or language, but we need language to communicate because we live in a conventional world and rely on conventional language. Therefore, teaching the Dharma must use human language to make sense to those within this conventional framework. In the realm of liberation, there is no language or need for speech. Everything is known without attachment. Our mind is an inherently empty and pure nature. Both darkness and light can pass through it. All phenomena can manifest and move through the mind. The mind is like an emptiness with nothing, not even air, and cannot be described or spoken about. Our mind has the nature of awareness, or self-awareness, which we mistakenly identify as consciousness. The mind, influenced by ignorance or lack of understanding, creates confusion and a lack of wisdom, leading it to hold on to its own characteristics through conceptualization. The mind naturally and normally has the quality of awareness. Right now, we are aware of sounds, with the mind performing the function of awareness. There is no one who is the knower or owner of this knowledge. The mind knows on its own all the time. This is the ultimate truth and reality that the Buddha and enlightened beings reveal to us for understanding this truth. The ultimate truth is the reality that is constantly present, without needing intention or desire, and without ownership. Simply observing that the mind is aware of the sound right now, and just being aware that the mind is aware of the sound, is enough. We just accept that the mind is a nature of knowing, without anyone owning it. It has always known, whether there is a physical body or not. Whether it is a coarse body, physical body, or a subtle body, non-physical, such as spirits, hell beings, demons, deities, or Brahmas. The mind continuously performs the function of awareness. A subtle body can attain enlightenment if we understand that the mind is naturally empty and its function of knowing is normal. The mind knows everything, but it does not matter what it knows. Once something appears to the mind, it eventually dissolves. Understanding and observing something involves seeing its appearance and dissolution, which is the understanding of the ultimate truth. Seeing the truth involves observing the state of the mind, or what is called the mind observing mental formations. When the mind observes mental formations, such as thoughts or emotions, we simply acknowledge that these phenomena arise and pass away. If we attach significance to their appearance and dissolution, we are engaging with mental formations, which is still a form of delusion or ignorance of the mind. Realizing the truth is not difficult. If we can meditate and reach a high level of concentration, such as deep jhana, we will be able to perceive the minds of others and understand their state, whether pure or obscured. It becomes as clear as having divine eyes, meaning seeing the mind directly. Observing the mind is not related to external appearances, but focuses solely on the condition of the mind itself. Therefore, the knowledge conveyed is that if we listen and understand, we can transcend suffering, gain wisdom, and live in this world without being burdened by suffering or delusion. Our mind has a nature that is empty and clear, purer than crystal, untainted, and naturally aware. When something comes into contact with it, regardless of what it is, the mind simply performs the function of awareness, and the matter ends there. If we can understand this, we will reach a profound truth that might be so astonishing it could bring tears. Anyone who listens and understands in just a few minutes will certainly experience this wonder. This knowledge is incredibly powerful. Everything that impacts our senses, whether through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind, whether from the external or internal, our mind is aware of it at all times, as the mind is naturally aware without any effort. Everything that comes into contact with the mind is immediately recognized by it. The impact and the recognition occur and dissolve simultaneously, without any need for effort or desire to know. Awareness arises naturally. When discussing the mind's nature of awareness, there is no one who owns or controls this awareness. It functions continuously, whether in the coarse body, the subtle body, or even in small beings. Every mind has the potential to attain enlightenment. It is simply a matter of listening and understanding. Understanding does not need to be through language, but through the mind, as the mind inherently knows. The truth that the mind perceives cannot be explained through language. It does not refer to the truth as we understand it through language, but to the mind's natural knowing, which is not owned by anyone. This is the true reality that is present in every mind at all times. The mind's awareness does not require any training. It knows continuously, even while we are deeply asleep, with no dreams or stories. But when we start to awaken from deep sleep, dreams begin to occur. This is the natural nature of the mind's awareness, even while we are dreaming. The nature of the mind includes citta sankhara, which refers to thoughts, perceptions, and emotions. These naturally arise whenever there is a mind. Citta sankhara shapes itself based on what the mind has previously experienced, such as memories from yesterday, last month, or last year. This shaping is a normal part of the mind, and no one controls or owns it. While we sleep, the mind continues to function by shaping thoughts, similar to how dreams arise and vanish quickly. The mind will always be aware of these dreams, because the nature of the mind is to know. The arising and cessation of thoughts or emotions occur simultaneously and at a rapid pace. There is no need to focus on their arising and ceasing, because the mind's shaping is merely a natural process, unrelated to the mechanics of arising and ceasing. When a dream or any phenomenon appears, the mind simply performs its function of awareness, and the matter ends there. Those who understand this will experience a profound sense of wonder and may even shed tears as they perceive the depth of this teaching. What appears to the mind is natural and occurs continuously, without any ownership or additional narrative. There is no need to struggle to seek answers or create additional mindfulness. There is no need to practice anything new. Simply be aware that the mind is aware right now. It is similar to being aware that the mind is perceiving, but without placing importance on this awareness or thinking of ourselves as the one who is aware. Remember that the Buddha taught us that the 5 aggregates, khandhas, are anatta, meaning there is no self or owning in them. There is nothing within the 5 aggregates that is us or ours. Similarly, the mind is also not us or ours. It is simply aware, but has no self or owner. If we grasp this principle, we will understand the essence of Buddhism and dispel all doubts. All the teachings of Buddhism are encapsulated in this principle. Understanding this, even in less than a minute, can lead to a comprehensive understanding of the entire Dharma. For those with wisdom, our mind is a nature of constant awareness. There is no need to search for the present, because the mind is inherently present, without the need for language to describe it. We know everything that appears, whether it be thoughts, emotions, or sensory experiences through sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, or the mind itself. We do not need to strive to be aware or to be present every moment, nor do we need to try to be mindful of the mind. What we need to do is understand and accept this truth. Practicing the Dharma is about seeing and accepting the truth, not escaping from it. Do not get caught up in creating a conceptual reality in your thoughts. Please understand that the truth has no self. The truth is that the mind functions as awareness continuously, without a knowing self. This is the Buddha's teaching, truth that is called liberation, or transcendental truth, which is beyond conventional understanding. It is a special truth that no teacher can easily impart. If we practice the Dharma to create something, we are immediately creating a sense of self. Listen carefully. What I'm saying is not for teaching humans or anyone to listen to, but for the minds of everyone to understand. I have said that any mind that hears this Dharma will be able to attain enlightenment. This Dharma is specifically for teaching the mind. This is a truth that cannot be described with language. It is a nature that is always aware and pure. If we can realize and be aware that the mind is continuously aware of everything, there is no need to train it to be aware or to create mindfulness for it to be aware all the time, because it is already aware. Simply recognize that it is aware right now. Feel that it is always aware. For example, when a sound impacts the mind, it is aware of that sound. When we see that the sense of self or ego has vanished, we will immediately experience a sense of wonder, because the truth is that the mind is always aware, without any involvement of the self in this awareness. Some people might experience moments when the mind becomes suddenly illuminated or perceive enlightenment clearly, such as feeling a sense of wonder or seeing the mind brighten instantly. This is a state of true enlightenment. When we deeply understand the true nature of the mind, doubts will dissipate, and we can live a life of contentment and equanimity. Daily activities like eating or bathing are also forms of Dharma practice because the mind is always aware. There is no need to train it to be aware. It is already naturally aware. Do not attempt to intervene or alter the natural awareness of the mind. If we try to interfere with the mind's nature, such as by focusing on breathing techniques or walking slowly, we remain in ignorance. Some might understand that it is aware all the time, such as being aware of thoughts as they arise and pass away, sounds as they arise and pass away, smells as they arise and pass away, or breathing as it arises and passes away. If we continue to emphasize the phenomenon of arising and ceasing, it indicates that we are still attached to the thoughts and fabrications of the mind. We are still valuing the phenomena of arising and ceasing instead of seeing everything as merely arising and ceasing quickly by nature. The nature of the mind functions on its own. The mind, by its nature, is empty and clear, pure and radiant, referred to as mind's inherent clarity. This nature is neither born nor dies. What arises and ceases are merely the fabrications of mental formations resulting from delusion and ignorance. Remember, the true nature of Dharma is difficult to express once understood. It's hard to find words or explanations for it. The nature of the mind does not require any action. When we do nothing, this nature remains empty, clean, and pure all the time. Awareness of the mind's nature means understanding that the mind is already aware without needing any additional fabrication. Just recognize, now it is aware. Whether it is awareness of sound, smell, taste, touch, thoughts, or emotions. Awareness without additional fabrication ends in emptiness, with no self and nothing else. Our mind is like nirvana all the time. There is no need to seek nirvana or make merit to attain it, as nirvana does not require any merit. Nirvana is a natural state and the ultimate truth. It is the reality that transcends all conventional concepts, such as merit, goodness, and happiness, which are worldly phenomena or worldly dharma. It's important to differentiate clearly between these. The 4,000 teachings of the Buddha are categorized as Sankhara Dhamma, which are conditioned phenomena, subject to the laws of the three characteristics: impermanence, suffering, and non-self. These teachings are conventional and conditioned. What I am discussing here is Lokuttara Dhamma, which is transcendent and beyond the world. It is a teaching that does not rely on language and does not require it. Do not mistake the use of language for explanation. As essential as right now, there is neither a speaker nor a listener. Simply being aware and conscious that you are presently aware of something is sufficient. The mind knows on its own, at all times. Simply noticing that it is aware is enough. There is no need to focus on the idea of us as the observer or understander, because there is no self involved in the knowing. Just feel that awareness is happening in the present moment, at any moment. Once we understand this, our mind can easily return to its natural state of emptiness. Attaining enlightenment can happen right now if we realize that it is knowing without an I as the knower. there is nothing for us to do. Emptiness will manifest, and there is no one to know it, nor anything to say. Simply understand with the mind that no self remains. Anyone who understands in this way will truly experience the nature of awareness that is present at all times. When we truly see and understand reality, it is as if we lose our sense of self, losing the endless cycle of birth and death that has gone on for ages. There is nothing left, only emptiness. There is nothing more to do. When the mind accepts this truth, that is true understanding. Listening to this recording multiple times will help us understand and accept this truth. This Dharma is special, meant to teach those who are special, which includes everyone who listens to this recording. Each mind is special. We are fortunate to be born in this era, as it is a time rich with opportunities for attaining enlightenment, whether in a coarse body or a subtle one. The mind continuously perceives things and remains present at all times. The knowing of the mind is a knowing that does not involve language. It knows things without our involvement, without any narrative or intention to know. It simply knows that at any given moment, the mind is perceiving something. So, the mind's knowing is a natural state that does not require effort or intention. We do not need to try to do anything additional. We only need to be aware that the mind is currently aware of something, such as sounds, smells, tastes, or sensations like surprise. Everything the mind perceives happens and ends by itself. Whether it is the awareness of the wind blowing or a scent reaching us, the mind has already known those things. We just need to be aware that the mind is knowing right now, and that is the end of it. Understand clearly that the nature of the mind is to be aware at all times. Awareness is something that happens continuously by itself, without any need for intention or additional effort. The mind perceives in the present moment and is constantly in motion. In reality, the present moment has no time. It is always a neutral awareness. If we recognize this neutrality, we will find the middle way. We only need to be aware that the mind is currently perceiving things and understand that it knows on its own, without the need to focus or strain to be aware. For example, when we become aware, we might feel that we are not aware in time, but in fact, the mind has already perceived it. We then add the notion of not being aware in time, which is simply getting lost in thoughts and further mental fabrications. What we need to do is simply recognize the arising phenomena, such as moments of distraction or confusion, and allow them to follow their natural course. When we become aware that the mind is perceiving something, a thought such as not aware in time might arise. While this thought says not aware in time, the mind has already perceived it. It's important to understand that there is no self involved in that perception. It is a neutral awareness without language, an awareness of emptiness without additional emotions or fabrications. This is referred to as wisdom. If we recognize that the mind is aware in the present moment and understand that it knows on its own, without needing to add anything, simply being aware in the present moment, we will experience a profound sense of wonder and may even shed tears. This will lead to a true feeling of emptiness and clarity. The practice of Dharma in Buddhism is straightforward. There is no need for complicated methods. Simply listen and understand that the mind is always perceiving and aware. Recognize that awareness is continuous and does not require additional effort. This is all that is needed. There is no language or explanation required about what is known. It is a matter of simple, detached awareness. The Buddha advised Brahman Pahaya to focus on the present moment and to be simply aware. When encountering sights, sounds, smells, tastes, or sensations through the senses, just be aware without attachment. The essence of Dharma practice is this kind of simple awareness. The thoughts we are currently thinking, or the words we are speaking, are merely phenomena that the mind perceives continuously. Sentient beings who are deluded and controlled by ignorance are swept along by mental formations and emotions. Mental formations are simply characteristics of the mind, a natural aspect that exists alongside the mind. Wherever there is a mind, there are mental formations as a natural condition. Consider the emptiness and space that is devoid of anything. Air resides in this emptiness and can transform into wind. Both air and wind depend on emptiness. Darkness and light also depend on emptiness, with darkness able to become light and light able to become darkness. These are not emptiness itself, but rather phenomena that act according to conditions. Even the words I am speaking now are just phenomena arising from conditions. Merit, demerit, hell, heaven, and karma are all just phenomena arising from conditions. Do you see the subtlety of conditions? The terms conditions and mental formations refer to everything that the mind perceives. If we understand that the mind is always perceiving and that nothing needs to be done, then yes, there is nothing to do. Ignorance is the cause of the cycle of birth and death, and the source of all suffering. Ignorance is a lack of understanding of the truth, not something that truly exists, but rather a delusion that causes the mind to cling to formations. In Buddhism, the goal of practice is to return the mind to its original nature, free from attachment to any mental formations or phenomena. This means that the mind no longer clings to mental formations or processes. The mind that has been entangled in various phenomena is considered to be under the influence of ignorance, avijja. We study the Dharma to extinguish this ignorance, which in reality has no true substance. It is merely a conceptual way of speaking to help people understand. To extinguish ignorance, one must bring the mind back to its original nature by allowing it to function freely and naturally. The mind continues to know and process things as it always does, while mental formations, which are characteristics of the mind, naturally arise and pass away. This is similar to how the emptiness of space allows light and darkness to perform their functions. Stars revolve, and electric and magnetic fields flow through space, relying on emptiness, which itself is not any of these phenomena. The mind has a nature of emptiness, and knowing is a natural function of the mind. Knowing is not related to the mind's inherent emptiness. The mind knows continuously, and this knowing is a function of the mind, occurring naturally and without the need for language. It knows in an effortless and detached manner, perceiving things without being influenced by any mental formations. All mental formations continue as usual, including perceptions, sensations, thoughts, and feelings, such as happiness, suffering, satisfaction, or dissatisfaction, which are merely the mind's creations. We only need to be aware of what the mind is currently knowing and understand that the mind knows continuously. The truth we must accept is that there is no self, no person, and nothing that truly exists in the world. Everything is merely the appearance of form and name, a convention we use to explain phenomena. There was a monk who taught foreigners, leading them to experience the emptiness in the mind. It was observed that the foreigner understood that nothing remains. Everything is merely form and name. This realization of emptiness and understanding that everything is merely a convention helps deepen the understanding of the true nature of reality. In the presence of emptiness, the awareness at that moment has no stories or things that truly occur. It is simply the perception of emptiness in its natural state. There is no self, no person, and nothing that happens at that moment. This is the nature of understanding emptiness that we attempt to describe with human language. to help us understand that the mind can transcend the power of ignorance through simple awareness in the present moment. We need to be aware and recognize that right now we are perceiving various things, such as hearing sounds, smelling, seeing, or feeling, which are perceptions occurring continuously. Being mindful in the present moment helps us overcome ignorance. Just by knowing and understanding the truth, in a single moment of consciousness, the mind will return to its original nature. Ignorance will dissolve, and the mind will no longer arise. Listen carefully. The mind will not arise again. 1,000,000%. There is no need to destroy or extinguish anything. There is nothing more to be done. We don't need to do anything at all. What we often do is try to satisfy our desires, which is clinging and fabricating, and that is ignorance. Do not create new ignorance. We must not cling to ignorance. We have let ignorance dominate the mind for long enough. It's time to stop clinging and stop believing that there is a real self. The Buddha and the Arahant disciples clearly understood this truth. Every moment of their lives was in the emptiness that signifies nirvana. They were no longer attached to anything and did not place importance on whether or not they clung to anything, because they saw clearly that the feelings of now are just perceptions that arise continuously. They are not you or anything else. All thoughts are not you. Accepting this truth will allow the mind to return to its original nature. When the mind returns to its original nature, it knows in a way that does not cling to anything. It is aware of knowing without concerning itself with whether it knows or not. It knows in a natural way. When we realize that our mind is aware in this way all the time, thoughts and emotions continue to arise and fade as usual. The five aggregates are just like that. While the mind is constantly aware, there is no self in this natural state. There is nothing to be done or practiced. Simply understand and see it as it is. Understand and feel that it is knowing in this way, which is the truth that is always present. This truth, or the Dhamma, is a very subtle knowledge for those whose minds are still coarse and attached to principles or texts. It is difficult to understand. Those who can easily grasp and understand must let go of everything, discard all knowledge, and then they will encounter a knowledge that cannot be expressed in words, known as Lokuttara Dhamma, the transcendental truth that is beyond all fabrications and conventions. The Buddha is the perfectly enlightened one, the supreme teacher of both devas and humans, whom we should hold in the highest respect and veneration. The Buddha possessed profound knowledge of the Lokuttara Dhamma, the ultimate understanding of the original mind. He saw all aspects of reality, both conventional and ultimate. I try to explain this so that the path to enlightenment becomes easier for everyone. I have said that anyone who listens to my teachings, whether in a gross or subtle form, will undoubtedly attain enlightenment and be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Just by listening and understanding, the mind does not need vast knowledge or merit, because the true mind does not require the conventional knowledge that we create. The true mind is the natural origin of all conventions and fabrications. All fabrications arise from the mind and emptiness. If there were no emptiness to serve as a foundation, the nature of things and all fabrications could not come into being. It's like the earth, which provides the foundation for trees to grow and a place for water to exist. Without the earth, trees and water would have no place to originate or reside. Everything comes from the earth, even if we do terrible things or use bombs to destroy the earth. The earth does not feel suffering or anger, nor does it ever hate or retaliate. The earth simply remains as it is, fulfilling its original function. Our minds are like the earth in many ways, both negative, unwholesome, and positive, wholesome things arise from the mind, just as the earth is unaffected by the good or bad deeds of the arahants who walk upon it or live on it. The earth remains as it is. Similarly, our minds are the source of all things. The mind is neutral, having no feelings of good or bad toward our actions. The mind is a truth that exists beyond the occurrences of the world, a reality that is ever present. Whether we understand it or not, this truth remains constant. The Buddha realized a profound and subtle truth and endeavored to teach us, those who are attached to and fascinated by fabrications and the awareness of sensory experiences, to see the ultimate reality. He taught that our original mind is empty, devoid of self, devoid of anyone or anything, and that there is nothing that needs to be practiced. The five aggregates are merely constructs with no true self. Practicing the Dhamma based on misunderstandings and under the influence of ignorance may be a futile effort. Therefore, I suggest that we stop engaging in practices that do not lead us to the ultimate truth, as they may be useless and only serve to reinforce the sense of self. True knowledge must resonate deeply within the mind of those who attain it, stirring a profound understanding of the truth within. When we perceive the truth that cannot be fully expressed in words, we will clearly see the value of the teachings and the greatness of the Buddha and the Arahants. We only need to listen and understand the truth that already exists within our own minds. There is no need to create or seek anything further, because everything is already present within our own consciousness. The phrase, "just listen to understand," is a way to simplify the message for human comprehension. However, in reality, when the mind truly realizes the truth through deep listening and study, it will grasp and attain the profound knowledge described. At that moment, all doubts will disappear. We will no longer place value on things that are mere conventions, such as parents, children, or benefactors, because these are illusions without any real self. Everything we once valued or believed to be real is just a condition within the framework of fabricated phenomena, sankhara. This realization shows us that nothing truly arises or ceases. True knowledge is like awakening from a dream, where we discover that nothing in the dream world has a true self. Things like parents, children, relatives, and even the virtues we uphold are merely parts of that dream, with no real substance. Each time we speak the Dhamma, it is an offering of homage to the Buddha, the perfectly enlightened one. It is intended for us to listen, understand, and for the Buddha to see that such teachings can improve the lives of others. I can do it, and so can all of us. Understanding the Dhamma deeply and listening with clarity will greatly increase our wisdom. When we grasp the subtleties of the Dhamma, we can also teach it to others in a remarkable way. This is the true respect for the Dhamma. I deeply respect the Dhamma and the teachings we already possess. This teaching is known as the middle way, Majjhima Patipada, which is indeed our original mind. When discussing the Dhamma that transcends all conventions, we must understand that while we are listening to or speaking about the Dhamma, we should not think that there is a real self or a real listener. Everything is just a convention created for our understanding. What is crucial is recognizing that at every moment our mind is continuously aware and fabricating. We need to clearly understand that the mind's awareness is always present, and that all fabrications are merely causal factors occurring naturally, with no true agent or recipient of actions. Dreaming while asleep is similar. It is just a natural process that arises and ceases, unrelated to ourself or any actions. In dreams there may be pleasure or suffering, but all of that is simply a natural occurrence, following its own process. While the mind dreams or fabricates, the nature of the mind continues to function normally. The thoughts and emotions at that time are simply natural phenomena, arising according to their own processes, without any true self present in them. Understanding this helps us realize that everything is just a causal factor, occurring naturally, with no true self existing. Everything exists in its natural state, without the need for any action. There is no need for anyone to do anything to achieve something. Efforts to practice, maintain, suppress, or the act of listening and memorizing with effort are all forms of ignorance, avijja. Those who can see and understand the workings of ignorance are those who have truly grasped the Dhamma and are assuredly liberated from rebirth. They are honored and revered by devas and humans alike, as they are free from heedlessness. Consider deeply. Anyone who perceives ignorance as described, when we understand clearly, should let the understanding of conditioned phenomena and fabrications unfold naturally. Do not cling to the idea of an I as the one who understands or owns anything. In reality, there is no self, no individual, and no stories. Everything is empty. It has always been empty and will remain empty endlessly. Our mind is an immortal element, a nature that neither arises nor ceases. It is in boundless and limitless emptiness. Those who can truly understand this ever-present emptiness, without clinging to or attaching significance to the fact that it exists, will realize that in reality, there is no one or anything that is empty, and no stories at all. If one can grasp the essence of nothingness, they will see that this emptiness is present continuously, from waking to sleeping, and will remain so every moment until the end of life. Those who realize this emptiness are considered to be of the highest level. They have sunyata, emptiness, as their dwelling place, residing in a state of having nothing and not clinging to anything. Such individuals are highly praiseworthy. They are at ease regardless of their location or whether they are alive or dead, because they have nothing to cling to. They are said to have completed their tasks. We can all reach this state at any time, because the mind inherently has the nature of emptiness and continuous self-awareness. It engages in thoughts and emotions as conditioned phenomena that are perpetually fabricated. It perceives sensory inputs through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. But in reality, there is no self in those experiences. There is no one present in those phenomena. There is nothing within the mind that can be labeled as parents, relatives, or any other individuals. It is completely empty. This emptiness is ever present. Understanding this is crucial because it represents true wisdom. When this wisdom is deeply embedded in the mind no longer needs to act or strive, as it has comprehended all aspects of the mind and its fabrications with clarity, grasping both conventional and ultimate truths. This constitutes a realization that leaves no room for doubt about the Dhamma. When we wake from a dream, we realize that there is nothing worth clinging to. In the realm of reality, there are no languages, forms, names, tasks, precepts, concentration, or wisdom. There are no cravings, aversions, or delusions. Everything is merely emptiness. Our existence in this world is solely to assist all sentient beings. We live according to the conditions of each individual. But our primary duty is to help others perceive the mind, understand mental fabrications, and transcend suffering. We must guide and teach those who are ready to receive the teachings, leading them to encounter the empty mind and overcome delusion. When they understand the Dhamma, they too will be free from suffering. This life can be our final rebirth if we do not foolishly cling to suffering or create a sense of self. For in this dream world, there is truly no inherent self. There is nothing that truly exists, including practices like jhana liberation, jhana vimutti, or wisdom liberation, Panyavimutti, or practices based on moral precepts, concentration, wisdom, or the four foundations of mindfulness, Satipatthana. All these are merely constructs, tools used in the realm of convention, akin to instruments in a dream world. In reality, none of these things truly exist. It is indeed lamentable, because it seems we are teaching others about things that are not real, while they are still caught up in these constructs. Thoughts are teaching thoughts. Causal factors are teaching causal factors. The Dhamma we discuss is special because it is not found in any text. Remember, whenever we try to do something with an expected outcome, that is ignorance, avijja, manifesting immediately. If someone realizes they are trying and understands that it is ignorance, they will immediately escape the cycle of birth and death. Simply being aware that we are knowing something is sufficient. Without detailed explanation, we might not understand. The true Dhamma is that our mind is inherently empty and pure, like the clear, pristine nature of nirvana. The mind itself has the quality of continuous awareness. It does not require us to make it aware. It is naturally aware on its own, and the mind fabricates according to its own nature, which is called mental fabrications, cetasika, encompassing thoughts and emotions that arise constantly. When we try to do something, that is the mind's fabrication. Every time we feel the need to act, it is the mind fabricating thoughts. We need to understand that the mind has its own nature. We simply need to be aware and not add extra thoughts or emotions. Just recognize that the mind is already aware and that thoughts and emotions are simply fabrications occurring on their own. What we need to do is just be aware that the mind is already aware. There is no need to do anything further. There is no self, no one, and nothing more to be done. Understanding this will lead to deeper insight and comprehension, and death, and attain true wisdom. Everything is simply a matter of causes and conditions. Mental fabrications are also factors, and the entire cycle of existence operates on these conditions. Ultimately, everything is just a result of causes and conditions. In essence, no language can truly describe it. It has existed beyond time and remains beyond conventional explanations. From the perspective of ultimate reality, there is nothing. No causes, no conventions, no Dhamma, no fabrications, no conventional truths. It is empty, pure, and pristine. There is no self, only the nature of awareness and the natural process of fabrications performing their functions. It exists simply as it is, according to its inherent nature, without any addition or modification. The mind that reaches the state of emptiness is nothing in itself. This is the true and ultimate nature, which can be described as the deepest understanding of reality. Those who perceive and comprehend this true nature will understand things as they exist naturally. The state of being nothing cannot be articulated. It is beyond narratives, beyond the knower and the known, beyond conventions, and beyond concepts of merit and demerit. The human world is often caught up in the insignificant, but the original nature is emptiness, nirvana, which is neither born nor dies. This is the true Buddha. When one grasps this truth, they will realize that there is nothing to be or to achieve, and nothing to change. What matters is attaining this genuine understanding that everyone can experience. Once we understand this, we will see that the truth and true understanding are very close to us. The Buddha is present with each of us because everyone possesses a pure mind already. There is no need to go to a temple or create statues to show respect. Every moment of mindfulness is an act of honoring the Buddha. Whether we are walking, sleeping, bathing, or eating, we are continuously in the presence of the Buddha. Even during moments of anger or conflict, we are still in the presence of the Buddha. Recognizing this truth is something the teacher finds deeply gratifying. Understanding this is crucial. When we grasp it clearly, we encounter the true reality. Speaking about this isn't about using human language or conventional terms. It's about being aware in the present moment. Simply being aware that we are aware is enough. There's no need to add more thoughts or fabrications. A pure mind is inherently empty by nature. Even when we experience anger or frustration, the mind remains empty, with no real self to cling to. It's important to realize that true Dhamma is not about creating a self, but about liberation from attachment. We've reached the end of today's Dharma talk. May we all take a moment to cultivate loving kindness. For any misdeeds I have committed against those who hold grudges or have grievances with me, I sincerely apologize and seek forgiveness. I acknowledge my wrongdoings and commit to not being born again. May this be my final life. May the merit of my good deeds extend widely, benefiting the spirits of all beings, both human and animal. May it reach the spirits in all the hell realms. May it also reach my own and others' debtors and avengers. May all of you release your thoughts, mental images, and emotions, and come to understand the ultimate truth. May they attain liberation from suffering and achieve enlightenment swiftly. Thank you all for listening. May you all be happy, peaceful, and free from suffering. If you enjoyed this clip, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon for notifications so you don't miss new content in the future. Thank you.